Gen Z and millennials are leaving the church in record numbers. Why? Is it a generational trend, or is there something deeper going on? Let's break this down with a few key factors. A study done by the Barna Group found that 60% of millennials have stopped attending church regularly, and around 50% of Gen Z is religiously unaffiliated, making them the least religious generation in modern history. Let's explore why this is happening and what the church can do about it. And stick with me because this conversation goes way deeper than statistics. It's about understanding what this generation needs and how the church can help. There are 5 main reasons, and the 5th is by far the most important. One reason young people are leaving the church is because they don't feel connected to traditional religious practices. For millennials and Gen Z, I'm a millennial, typical traditional religious structures don't really fit in. They're seeking a space where their spirituality can be practiced authentically from the heart. The second reason that young people are leaving the church is perceived hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is a really big issue. When church leaders preach love and acceptance, but practice judgment and condemnation, it creates a deep disconnect. These contradictions, perceived or true, can cause young people to question the very foundation that their religion rests upon. The third reason young people are leaving is the church's response to cultural shifts. Gen Z and millennials have grown up in a world full of political polarization, LGBTQ issues, and a focus on mental health. Yet the church has been often slow to respond to these cultural shifts. Younger generations can feel like the church is out of touch or outdated with some of the issues that matter most to them. Many in the church are dealing with these struggles personally or with their families. When the church fails to speak to these concerns with compassion, understanding, and clarity, it leaves many people feeling ignored and disconnected from a community that should be a source of support and guidance. The fourth reason young people are leaving the church is lack of space for questions. The younger generations have big questions about faith, doubt, and the universe. Instead of finding openness or honest discussion, they instead counter judgment or oversimplified answers that don't feel helpful at all. When the church doesn't allow room for questions, young people are left feeling unheard and disconnected, seeking answers elsewhere. The fifth reason is a new kind of spirituality. Gen Z and millennials are moving away from traditional practices and towards meditation, mindfulness, and generally just doing good in their communities. For many, these practices feel more genuine than just sitting in a pew listening to a sermon. Still, there's a deep down longing for connection. Many turn to YouTube for spiritual insights or practice their faith at home, but they miss the sense of community and connection that a real-world congregation offers. So what does all this mean? Does it mean the church is doomed? Not necessarily, but it does mean there's work to be done. If the church wants to reconnect with those generations, then it needs to listen. Really listen. It's time for the church to create spaces where tough questions are welcomed, where real issues are addressed with compassion. Above all, though, the church needs to show genuine, outgoing love and concern, not to mention letting young people use their unique gifts and step up so they can grow. The key to moving forward is emotional awareness. People, young or old, often leave the church because they're triggered by something, or sometimes the leadership is triggered and they respond in ways that unintentionally hurt people. Just because we're triggered doesn't mean it's reality. But what it does mean is that you need to look inward to see if there's an unresolved wound. If we stay unaware of our emotional wounds, then we don't see how they might be impacting our relationships and church culture at large. The church needs to prioritize emotional awareness and healing. If Gen Z and millennials are going to return, church can't just be about services. It must be a place where real relationships, honest conversation, and healing can happen, where people feel safe to bring their doubts, their fears, their pains, and their questions. The church is at a crossroads. It can either cling to the past or evolve to meet the needs of today's world. But evolution doesn't mean compromising beliefs. It means creating a safe space where people can be loved, seen, heard, and valued. After all, the church at its core is a family, a place where every person is welcomed, just like the prodigal son who found unconditional love and acceptance when he returned home. Come as you are and transform. So why are Gen Z and millennials leaving the church? It's not just about tradition, hypocrisy, or social issues. It's about unmet needs and longing for authentic connection. The question is, how can we as a faith community rise to meet those needs and bring healing? Join the conversation. Drop a comment below with how we can grow together as a church. I'll see you next time.
It's really just choosing to either identify yourself with all of the beliefs and the masks and the programs and the stories you tell yourself, or